Hello everyone. Today I've brought you the story of a thrilling survival movie called Maine Boiling Survival. In this film, we'll see how a soldier, just to save his own life, manages to stand in the same spot for 3 long days, using nothing but his patience, endurance, and sheer willpower. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into the incredible events of this survival movie. The film begins at an airport where Mike is seen saying goodbye to his girlfriend as he prepares to leave for his next military mission. A little later, Mike and his partner Tommy arrive in a desert. They're on a special assignment, aiming to take down a dangerous terrorist from a distance. While they wait, a group of armed men shows up in several vehicles to attend an event happening nearby. Mike requests permission to take the shot and he gets it, but just as he's about to pull the trigger he hesitates, because the target's young son is standing right next to him. Mike still doesn't have a clear shot at his target, yet everyone keeps pressuring him to fire. He contacts his superiors and informs them that there's a wedding taking place down there. And he also admits that he feels guilty about killing the groom's father in the middle of the ceremony. Tommy keeps urging him to follow orders and take the shot, but Mike keeps hesitating. Eventually the target slips away, and to make things worse, the reflection from Mike's sniper scope catches the enemy's attention. The armed group spots both Mike and Tommy. Immediately, the gang starts chasing them. Mike and Tommy start running for their lives while dozens of gunmen follow close behind. Mike tries to divert their attention, but after a short distance, one of the men notices something alarming. A massive sandstorm is approaching. Tommy contacts base for extraction, but they inform him that the pickup point is 6 kilometers to their right, near a small village. They tell them to stay put, wait for the sandstorm to pass, and then head toward the village on foot. As they start walking, Tommy begins talking about his son and how much he misses him. He explains that before having a child, he and his wife used to argue all the time, but now they always work things out, because he has realized that family is the most important thing. Then he asks Mike when he plans to marry his girlfriend Jenny. Mike replies that it's complicated and he's not really in the position to think about marriage right now. Tommy teases him about it, saying Mike is making the situation unnecessarily complicated. They keep walking for a while and soon run into another light sandstorm. On the way, they come across a strange signboard with a skull symbol painted on it, something that looks quite unusual. Seeing this, Mike becomes a bit uneasy, but Tommy thinks it's just a scare tactic used by the locals to keep outsiders away from their village. A little later, they take another short break. While walking, Mike accidentally steps on a small green toy soldier. Tommy has already run out of water, so Mike shares some of his own. Tommy stays in a good mood and even starts walking backward as a joke, telling Mike not to overthink that skull signboard. But suddenly, his smile disappears, because he steps on a landmine. The moment he lifts his foot, it explodes instantly. At the same time, Mike hears a clicking sound beneath his own foot, and freezes in place. Tommy loses his leg and is left in a horrific condition. Mike tries to calm him down, telling him that he needs to endure the pain long enough to check the radio. Tommy searches through his gear and finds some morphine, but it slips from his hand. Mike encourages him to stay strong, reminding him that his son will be waiting for his call. Tommy pulls himself together and injects 1 dose of morphine, but then he injects a second one as well. Mike tells him not to, but Tommy doesn't listen. Tommy can no longer think clearly, and even the radio isn't working. Instead, he keeps rambling nonsense. Mike wants to move closer to help him, but doing so could trigger the mine under his own foot. While trying to reach for Mike, Tommy suddenly grabs his gun and shoots himself in the head. Mike is left completely frozen. He cannot step forward, he cannot move at all. After the shock hits him, Mike kneels down and tries to carefully dig around the landmine using his knife, but nothing seems to work. So he comes up with another idea. He removes his shoelace, ties it around a small hatchet, and throws the hatchet toward Tommy's bag, hoping to hook it and pull the bag toward himself. The attempt almost causes him to lose his balance, but somehow he manages to drag Tommy's backpack within reach. Mike searches through the bag and finds the communication device. Using it, he finally contacts the base. He reports that both he and Tommy stepped on landmines. His superiors tell him they can't help him right now. He's still 2 hours away from the nearest village, and because of the sandstorm, helicopters can't reach the area. Their best option is to send a convoy from the border, but it will take approximately 52 hours to arrive, meaning Mike has to survive on that landmine for more than 2 days. His major tells him that if the worst happens and he can't survive, he should attempt something called the Schumann maneuver. But before the major can explain what that is, the connection cuts off. After a quick snack, Mike faces yet another sandstorm. He grips his sniper rifle with one hand and a knife with the other, using them to anchor himself so he doesn't accidentally lift his foot and trigger the mine. Because of the storm, Tommy's body gets blown closer to him. Mike pulls it toward him and checks the pockets for extra batteries. But another problem arises. The storm pushes Tommy's backpack far away, into a spot Mike can't reach. Mike runs out of the water he was carrying, so to protect himself from the intense desert heat, he wraps a piece of cloth around his head. In complete desperation, he fires his gun into the air and screams for help. Then he places the pistol against his own head. But at that exact moment, he notices a man walking nearby, so he quickly lowers the weapon. The man asks Mike why he's standing like that. Mike tries to explain that he has stepped on a landmine. The man, who understood a little bit of English, tells him that whatever has happened is already done. Now he has to decide his next move and keep going forward. Mike shows him Tommy's dead body and keeps repeating that Tommy is gone, but the man must move on. Still, Mike tries to convince the man to at least bring him some water or pull his backpack closer. But the man slowly steps back and tells Mike again and again that he must be the one to move forward. A short while later, a little girl comes and offers Mike some water. After Mike drinks it, she shows him a toy soldier. Mike then shows her the same kind of toy soldier he had found earlier while walking through the desert. He points toward his backpack and asks her to bring it to him. But the girl doesn't understand anything. Mike tries hard to make her understand, but she gets scared and runs away. Night falls, and Mike lights a fire to protect himself from the cold. He takes out his phone and starts looking at pictures of his girlfriend. He watches a video she recorded for him. She tells Mike that he is the best thing that ever happened in her life, and she knows that Mike has a strong sense of duty inside him. She wishes him luck on his mission and says she will be waiting for his return. Lost in his memories and imagination, Mike suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night, shocked. He had almost lifted his foot off the mine. Just then, Mike is attacked by a pack of dogs. He tries to scare them away by firing his gun, and fortunately, he survives through the night until the next morning. In the morning, the Berbers return and tell him that he is truly lucky. He's still alive. Mike then notices something. The Berbers don't walk in a straight line. They move in a zigzag pattern. He assumes they must know where the landmines are buried. But the Berber man tells him that they don't know anything. This leads to an argument between them, and the Berber makes it very clear. The Berbers love to live freely, and their only concern is getting back to their families. Mike, on the other hand, only follows orders. The Berber then picks up Mike's radio, and, without missing the chance, starts teasing him. He pretends to talk into the radio, acting as if he's reporting that Mike is busy right now. In the end, he gives the radio back, and Mike tries to use it, but he still can't make contact with anyone. Soon, Mike's mental state begins to collapse. He starts hallucinating Tommy, imagining him standing up again and making fun of Mike about his girlfriend. Tommy seems to remind him that Mike must return home, because his girlfriend won't wait for him forever. That night, the imaginary Tommy appears again, and this time he starts teasing Mike about his father. A little while later, the same dogs from yesterday attack Mike once more, and he fires shots to scare them away. Some of the dogs step on landmines and are blown up, but we still can't tell whether this is actually happening, or if everything is just a product of Mike's hallucinating mind. In this unstable state, imaginary Tommy tells him that if all the dogs attack at once, Mike will be finished. So he tells Mike to start digging around the mine, so that if necessary he can maneuver and save himself. Mike tries to do it, but suddenly the mine explodes and throws him backward, but that too is just in his imagination. In reality, Mike wakes up and sees a real dog attacking him. Fortunately, he manages to kill it and survive. The next morning, the base finally contacts Mike and informs him that the convoy will need another 17 hours to reach him. Mike isn't sure if he can survive that long. The base then allows him to speak with Jenny, and hearing her voice gives Mike a renewed sense of hope. But while talking to Jenny, Mike begins to faint and almost collapses forward. Fortunately, the Berber man appears again and catches him, placing his own foot on top of Mike's to keep him steady on the mine. The man then begins to speak. He says that he too once stepped on a landmine, and in that accident, he lost his daughter. He reveals that he was the one who gave Mike water earlier. He explains that after his daughter died, he was left only with his 3 sons. And in his view, no matter what happens in life, a person must keep moving forward. His belief is simple: to live as a free human being. And to do that, one must overcome fear. When the man leaves, Mike begins to remember his own past, how his abusive father used to beat both him and his mother. He recalls the happy moments when he and Jenny moved into their new home. Then his memory drifts to the night Jenny was working as a waitress, and some men were bothering her. Mike had stood up for her. He also remembers the days when his mother was hospitalized, slowly becoming weaker and weaker. These memories, along with his hallucinations, keep Mike alive, until the convoy finally arrives. They contact him and ask for his exact location, and once again, imaginary Tommy appears, advising Mike to use a smoke grenade to signal where he is. Mike reaches for the smoke grenade, but suddenly he imagines himself being shot, explosions erupting all around him. Through this hallucination, we see a glimpse of his past, how he once made mistakes and treated Jenny poorly, behavior that came from the emotional trauma he carried for so long. He also sees another vision, his mother telling him to let her go. Mike is deeply tied to his past, blaming himself for everything that happened because of his father. But the truth is, he was only a child back then. There was nothing he could have done. Suddenly he sees an image of his father in the desert. The imaginary version of his father approaches him, hugs him, and tells him to move forward. After all this, Mike begins to hum a soft tune, and finally gathers the courage to take a step forward. And shockingly, the mind does not explode. Mike digs into the sand and discovers that he had been standing on a tin can the whole time. When he opens it, he finds a toy soldier inside. At last, Mike uses the red smoke grenade, and the convoy is finally able to spot him. After this terrifying experience that completely changes his outlook on life, Mike returns to Jenny, and the film goes back to the beginning. The airport scene wasn't actually a farewell. It was their reunion. The moment Mike sees Jenny, he drops to his knees in the exact same posture he had been frozen in while standing on the mine. And that's where today's movie comes to an end. How did you like this intense survival film? Make sure to let me know.